Thank you for joining us. There's an essential connection between health in general and education. I'm Richard Peritz, and to tell us about this, we have Dr. Fischler, President Emeritus of Nova University, and Kimmi Lee, a clinical pharmacist at Life Extension and a graduate of Nova University herself. They will share their thoughts on these subjects from their own perspectives following these messages.
Hi, I'm Kimmi Lee, pharmacist with Life Extension Foundation, and I'm here with Dr. Fischler just to ask a few questions about education. Hi.
Hi. But stick to education and not pharmacy. How's that?
Let's stick to education, of course. I graduated from Nova.
I know that.
And it was such a wonderful experience. And one of the biggest things is the education that I got from Nova. It was very unique. And one of the things that it taught us is, you know, when we go out into the real world, you know, sometimes there's more than what we're taught in school. And I know, as you had mentioned a lot earlier, that education is the key to the future of the minds. And, you know, I just wanted to know from a perspective, you know, do you think that there could be more that we could be doing in the education system to prepare, you know, the graduates for the real world? Because it's very, very different.
There's a need for an organic change in the way in which we educate our children from birth through age 22. The way we're set up now, children in preschool have an opportunity to learn by doing. And they play with Dean's blocks and all types of activities, and they learn symmetry in that way, and shapes and sizes and things of that nature. But the tendency, as we move up further in the educational system, they become passive learners because teachers want to teach, and students have to learn what they're taught, in many cases through symbols like reading and lecturing, listening, and we have to make sure that that doesn't continue. We have to transform the way we teach so that the environment provides tools through which children can learn. And instead of worrying about the printed word as much as we do, yes, they have to learn to read, but they have to learn that in reading you have to have a certain level of skill, which is analysis and synthesis and self-judgment. We don't spend enough time doing that as much as comprehension, which is the simplest level which we get. They spend a good deal of their time sitting instead of actively learning. So the pictures I just left with Mr. Peritz shows the transformation in the university school of children actively involved in learning by being in small groups, manipulating objects and seeing what happens as you change shapes, and learning geometry by actually doing geometry through the problems that they have to work on. So that has to change. So the teacher becomes a guide in a learning environment, and by manipulating the environment and providing opportunity for students to really teach one another.
Okay. So I completely agree. And, you know, with the mention of manipulating the environment, how does our environment affect the ability of our students to learn? Do you think there's a connection between nutrition, exercise, healthcare as it relates to education?
You're absolutely right. But we don't have to formally learn that in a school environment. If you want an athletic program, students can go out in the yard and work out for a half hour with some supervision. And that's exercising. Right. Okay? You can give them puzzles to work on, which exercises the mind, and especially if you have a variety of. That's what geometry does. You can teach geometry through manipulating space and looking at the congruence of space. And the design is all doing that. My wife picks up the newspapers about 10 o'clock in the morning, and she doesn't give it up until 12 because she does all the puzzles, a whole variety of puzzles which come every day.
You're exercising your brain.
And you're
right
exercising your brain. So all those things can be done in an environment which enables students to have the time to achieve rather than achieve at the rate I think they should be learning. So in the model that I have in my head, and which we now are beginning to implement, is that education is a continuum, and it may take you a little longer, or you may be very bright and get there quicker, but we have to provide an environment which is flexible so that the student succeeds. I'll tell you a story, a true story. I took up golf when I retired for 6 months. Okay. I was 65. And one afternoon I was playing with my friends, and I said, think how stupid I am spending 4 hours trying to hit a white ball in a hole. And I wasn't even getting exercise.
Okay.
If I used 4 hours exercising, I would be developing upper body strength and all of these things. Golf doesn't do that for you. It just buys you some freedom. Mm-hmm. But what are you doing with your freedom? You're hitting a white ball in a hole.
Right.
So I stopped.
Okay.
I stopped playing golf that way.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. I work at Life Extension Foundation, which is the largest organization dedicated to investigating every method of extending the healthy human lifespan. If I may ask, what is your secret to staying healthy and so very active?
Staying busy, being productive, have a reason for putting on my pants every morning and getting out of the house so I can do that. The worst thing you can do is retire and not have the two. And so what do I do today? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to fill up the day? That's not good.
Okay.
You really have to have a set of objectives that you're trying to achieve, whether it's in golf, if you're serious, you go out and you do what you have to do, or some other, but you have to have an objective, a reason for getting up, a reason for getting out of the house, a reason for exercising your mind and your body.
Richard told me that you're very conscious about what you eat and how you take care of yourself.
Yeah, because when I was a young man, I went into the service in World War II, and when I came out, I was much heavier than when I went in.
Really?
Yes, much heavier. I gained weight because I was a medic.
Okay.
I was in the operating room as a corpsman and enjoyed it. Learned a lot,
Right.
But I also ate a lot.
Okay.
And didn't exercise like I was doing before then. So I decided that I would have to go back and balance my time and leave room to exercise my body as well as I was exercising my mind.
How do you feel about the importance of students understanding the effects of nutrition and how it relates to their education?
It depends on how they learn it.
So do you feel that we should be promoting nutrition, the right foods that will help feed their brains?
I think you should be promoting it through a set of opportunities for students to try new foods, to be selective on the basis of their knowledge of what foods and how to go about selecting food that's both nutritious and tasty.
Of course, that's important.
And you can have the same thing, but you can have 3 ounces instead of 6.
So no French fries.
And no French fries.
No French fries.
You get sweet potato fries.
There you go. That's great.
So what I did was I wanted to bring my weight down again. As you can see, I weigh 168 this morning, and I'm conscious of what I weigh. And when I move up above 170, I ration myself for a couple of days so I can lose the 2 pounds that I put on. So I try to stay between 165 and 170.
That's great. So you're very conscious.
I'm very conscious of the weight problem. And because of the early deaths of my family, I decided I'd live longer, and I've been very successful. because as you can see at 85, I'm still active every day.
Very active. So you exercise, you eat right, you move daily. I think that's the key.
That is the key.
That is
and have a place to work in a productive way.
This has been so interesting. Thank you so much.
Well, it's good meeting you, and keep
Very
up
nice
the good
meeting
work
you. Thank
and
you.
the cause.
Yes.
This concludes our episode on health and education. I'm Richard Peritz. Thank you for being with us.